growth in wisdom, knowledge, you see, self-understanding and self-discovery, healthy relations, self-control. All those things are hateful. But this is the only way a minority can rule over a majority of people, is by turning their minds backwards so that they love the things that destroy them and hate the things that move them forward. In order for these people to rule over us, we must hate learning. It has to be built into us. We must think that we can't do math. Because you see, if we do math, if we were into learning, if we were into research and into thinking and into, real philosophical ideas and abstractions, we would defeat those people. They know it. So consequently, what they must do is rob you of all of these things so that they may stay in there.
Thank you for tapping in. It's Brian HRap B. Williams. This is the End of the Bench Media. This is a few minutes from HRap. Thank you and welcome to the Facebook people. Today is my first day of broadcasting on Facebook as well. This is the End of the Bench Media, a few minutes with HRap. And I do it as I do every day. I thank my parents, Dolores and John. Without Dolores and John, there's no me. Without me, you'd be doing something else with your valuable time. Thank you for tapping in. If you're watching, hit that like, hit that share, tell a friend and tell a friend. And if you watch this at a later time, I want you to go to www.theendofthebench.com, www.theendofthebench.com. That's where you can get all my content, well, a lot of my content, the last 2-3 months, and it'll lead you to Black history facts and things of that nature that'll be beneficial to you and everybody connected to you. The purpose of this is to ensure life will be a little better for our great-grandchildren's grandchildren. I'm speaking to my community, as I always say, but I'm speaking to the working class individuals in the United States of America. Basically, my community is the tide, and all high tide lifts all boats. We are going to lift ourselves. That way everybody else will be lifted around us. Thank you for tapping in. The title of the show today is The Enemy Within. The enemy within is something that your president said while he was running for office. The enemy within, and he's going to get rid of the enemy within. So, but the question is, what is an enemy? We're going to ask another question: what is legal? And we're going to I'm also touch on a few things to let you know that you are under attack. If you get up and go to work on a daily basis, if you make less than $3 million a year, you're under attack. Just because you have money does not mean you are one of the friends of the state of America. Point blank, period, end the sentence. Look, we are in a horrible situation, and we have a bunch of propagandized lies. You got ChatGPT, you have AI, and then you just have flat out media who are attempting to make more money in advertising versus getting your eyes and opening your eyes and putting you in an advantageous situation so you and your family can live a peaceful and coexist among peaceful life and coexist among the American populace or the United States populace. You're not an American. You're a citizen of the United States, because guess what? Canadians are American. Mexicans are American. Central are American. South are American. You're a citizen of the United States. First lie destroyed. Now, what I want you to understand is this. We've been put in a situation to where, as my community, speaking to my community directly. And again, if you are just tapping in, I want you to go, if you're not watching this live, I want you to go to www.theendofthebench.com, theendofthebench.com. You'll see this in its entirety. You'll see the Black history documentary that I give you a piece of on a daily basis in its entirety. And then you can reach out to me and we can have a conversation. If you disagree, or if you want to even make an appearance on the program, I'm open to that as well. I don't have all the answers. I just have my opinions. My opinions are valuable to me and only me, and I'm not married to them. If you see me make a mistake, approach me. We can have a conversation. I will come on with the correction, or we can have discourse. Like I was saying, over the last few days, we have been seen to whereas the United States of America are identifying their enemies. We've seen this. We've seen this before. We saw this at the end of the First World War. We're in the midst of the Second World War, and this dude is running a playbook called Mein Kampf. If you don't believe it, it's a book that was written by the dictator Adolf Hitler called Mein Kampf. He basically said, if you lie enough and loud enough and repeat it enough time, it becomes the truth. Separate your enemies. Basically, if you have a group of people who will oppose you, separate them, turn the populace against them, attack them one by one and destroy them. Ethiopian Jews were first, the people who they call gypsies were second, and then the Abu Kanashi Jewish community was the next up the back. Hey, guess what? If you're going to let him, meaning the president of the United States, attack the Latino community, they would be the Ethiopian Jews. And then guess what? The LGBTQIE will be the equivalent of the people that they identified as gypsies. Guess who's next? That train never misses. That train never misses. That racist train that has black people on it, it never misses. So if you want to continue to say, well, they're getting what they want, they're not. Look, you want to talk about legal and illegal. Illegal is determined by the people who are in power. Just like the story of the hunter and the lion. If you let the hunter tell the story, the lion is evil, the lion is wrong. You have people in their diaries saying when they got to the shores of this very country, they say, hey man, the people were savages, but you got off that boat, couldn't fend for yourself, start eating your animals and pests, spread a disease and took over this entire nation and the entire landmass. Who's the savage? I'm not identifying any group of people. I'm not saying anybody's wrong or anybody's evil or anybody's wicked. But if we're going to identify the wicked and the evil, guess what? Go on the other side of that ocean called the Atlantic, go to England, and George Washington is a terrorist. See the point? What I want you to understand is this. If you're comfortable letting our Latino brothers and sisters being grabbed up because they are here illegally, again, how did your ancestors get here? Somebody grabbed them off a landmass, put them in the hull of a ship, brought them over here, attempted to beat the humanity out of them, stripped them of their identity, stripped them of their God, stripped them of their diet, and forced them into indentured servitude, forced free indentured servitude for 400 years. 400 years. And they've only been free for 162 of those years. Now, understand this. The country is less than 250 years old. And for 162 of them, you were free. The landmass has been populated by people since 1492, and you have been free for 162. Understand that. I need you to start paying attention to what's going on. If you are a person who believes in humanity, if you are a person who believes in whatever deity that you support, your deity tells you, do not allow people to be treated the way our Latino brothers and sisters have been treated. No one should have tactical forces run into elementary, high school graduations and grabbing parents and leaving children to whatever. You've just created a criminal class because if you take their parents out of the country and they can stay, guess what happens? Who's going to fend for them? If they have no one to fend from, more than likely they will turn to crime. If they turn to crime, the prisons are filled. If the prisons are filled, their cohorts and their friends make money. If their friends make money, that brings their elevated higher, you'll push down lower. And if you're targeting the Latino community, if you're targeting the Black community, hey, working class white people, you're next. If you're not already in the mix, I need you to realize what's going on. I need you to understand what's going on. It is insane. It's people out here not believing the things that people like myself are saying. They're not paying attention. I don't watch the news because it's depressing. That is insane. They're lying on the news. True indeed. But you know what? Most of us have the ability to discern foolishness from fact. Foolishness from fact. You listen to what they have to say. You chew up the meat. You spit out the bones. There's nothing in your psyche that will allow you to tell somebody it's okay to rappel from a helicopter, jump out of a van, incarcerate parents and leave children in the streets. And then at the same time, you're defunding programs. At the same time, you're not giving public assistance. You're reducing Medicaid, Medicare. You're not paying attention to what your Congress is doing. But you're paying attention to this alleged story by brother Chris Webber. You're paying attention to this story about Sean Puff Daddy Combs. You're paying attention to the NBA Finals. You're paying attention to these television shows. ChatGPT, AI, and other entities are making you mentally lazy, destroying your ability to create, destroying your need to create, destroying your need to be able to write cogently. And as mentally lazy as you get mentally lazier, they will move in and destroy you. It seems hyperbolic. You may think I'm triggering, but at the end of the day, this is what's going on. We are being duped in these United States of America. We are definitely being duped. So the question is, who is the true enemy? Who is the enemy within? Those people, the Latino community in California, that's where they're repelling and ICE is grabbing people. They are identified as the enemy within because they disagree with said president. Maybe I'm making myself one of the enemy within. Hey, so if I get arrested, I'm not suicidal. I have a clean bill of health, and I don't have any issues. I'm not gonna kill myself. So if I end up sick or incarcerated and commit suicide, understand it's stemming from this or something along these lines. But I want you to understand, if he's identified the Latino community, and then a lot of people going, hey, well, they voted for him. 63% of the Latino community voted for Vice President Harris, 63%. And a larger percentage in California did that. If you look up the Electoral College map, Arizona, New Mexico, and California are blue. That means that they voted for Harris, and they're being attacked. These are the things that I'm talking about. If you are foolish enough to say, hey, man, that's not me. Again, back to the original topic, Mein Kampf. When they attacked the Ethiopian Jews, the Gypsies, and the Abakanagi said, it's not that, well, not us. When they attacked the Gypsies, the Abakanagi said, nah, not really us. And then they were left to what eventually happened to them. We don't need a repeat of this. We need to start standing up and defending the people who can. Your goal as a person who was born from 1979, as a matter of fact, 1985 on back, is to make sure your grandchildren's great-grandchildren have a peaceful and quality life. You need to have an opportunity. It's a lot of things. Look, we should not be allowing people to be rounded up in the streets. And where are they putting these people that are being rounded up in the streets? We don't know. A lot of these people going, you think the president gave the president of Venezuela $6 million for nothing? And then do you understand the transition of funds? If I give you 6 million American dollars, that may translate into 25, 30 million Venezuelan dollars. Understand what's going on. This dude said, which leads me to another point. This dude said, maybe we need to start getting rid of homegrown criminals. Now, if they are the enemy within, and we're talking about homegrown criminals, let me ask you this: who's next? Who's next? If you're rounding up people on the street and sending them elsewhere, that's the test run. That's the test run. What is the test run? The test run is simply a situation to, we're going to see how they react. And if the populace does not move in the direction of humanity, we'll move it a little further. We'll move it even further. We'll move it even further. We've been duped into believing these D's and R's, these donkeys and elephants, Republicans and Democrats. But if you really want to talk about your rights and the laws, your rights say you need to be calling your senator, calling your state rep, calling anybody who's part of the situation. And you say, hey, man, you need to not sign that most beautiful bill, which is going to give people who make $15,000 or less a 60% increase in tax. And the billionaires get a tax break. Make that make sense, please. Somebody make that make sense to me. But see, we cannot allow people, human beings, to be rounded up like animals. At one point, your great-grandparents, 4 or 5 times over, were rounded up. How did that end up? How are you rounding up people in the United States of America? Due process. I thought that was part of the Constitution. See, we cannot be selective in the remembrance and the enforcement of the constitutional rights. The Constitution is a contract. If you allow them to violate the contract with anybody, that means if you look at Islam, the violation of one human being is the violation of humanity. If you look at Christianity, they treat your neighbor as you would treat yourself. See, no matter which faith you involve yourself in, Hinduism, everything is part of the whole. We're part of one whole, not pieces of a multitude. We are one thing. We are one. But see, we're not looking at those things. We only look at those things when we only believe we only exercise our faith when it affects us directly. We cannot allow these things. Right now, as usual, I'm going to show you a video about Black history and how we were treated in the past. This lets you know that the future is not. It is not beyond the pale that you'll be treated like this again. I need you to pay attention to these things. And if you pay attention to these things, then you won't suffer the consequences in the future. This is it. I'll be back shortly. You already know.
Of a little mystery and an enduring quest for Black identity, stripped from our original connections through the brutalities of enslavement Black folks often had these surnames of their enslavers forced upon them, and then only for us later to reject those names. This would serve as a silent witness to the enduring legacy of systemic racism and cultural evolution. So join us today while we delve into the history of the Black surname. And if you like stories like this, you can find more stories like this at onemichistory.com. And if you like audio only episodes, you can find One Mic wherever you find your podcast. But without further ado, let's get started. A surname, a family name or last name, is the hereditary portion of one's personal name that indicates one's family. It is typically combined with a given name to form the full name of an individual. Yet, the history of surnames is a fascinating journey through time, illustrating how societies evolved to identify individuals. Originally, people were known only by their given name, but as population expanded, there was this need for additional identifiers, leading to the development of surnames that often reflected personal characteristics or geographic origins or occupations or family lineage. See, in China, the use of surnames dates back to 2000 BC with the Emperor Fuxi, who standardized them for census purposes. Initially maternal, these surnames would shift to a paternal system during the Shang Dynasty, and interestingly enough, Chinese tradition would have women retain their surnames even after marriage. In Western Europe, during the medieval period, family names were originally very rare, but during the Norman Conquest and the subsequent Doomsday Book of 1086 would spur the adoption of surnames among the English nobility, which would gradually spread across their society. And by the 14th century, surnames had become common in England and Scotland. Into the modern era, many cultures are administrative purposes. Initially, during the European expansion in the 1600s, the Napoleonic Code would require people to have both a given name and a family name that will remain unchanged across generations. Notable adoptions include the Netherlands, Japan, and Turkey, who would all formalize surname usage. Yet names could also change to protect privacy or to escape persecution. For instance, European Jews anglicized their names in the United States to avoid prosecution, and conversely, governments can force name changes, as was done by Nazi Germany or in Bulgaria in the 1980s. Yet, story of surnames is an important part of the human cultural identity and shows a shared history, a shared heritage and lineage. However, the narrative for African Americans is distinct, mostly due to historical injustices stemming from displacement and enslavement.
Looking for an easier way to get that LLC next to your business?
As you see, the surname, it means everything to you. It shows you where you're from, who you're part of. It even probably identifies your diet. If you want to see the remainder of that video, and if you are intrigued by that, go to www.theendofthebench.com, www.theendofthebench.com, and you'll be able to watch it in its entirety. It's the video on the right. The video on the left will be this episode in its entirety. Now, the reason I showed you that is because it is paramount that we know who we are. If you know who you are, you'll have more pride. You have more pride in yourself. You'll do better for yourself. You do better yourself. You won't accept the foolishness, nonsense, and the discrimination and disregarding that is being placed upon you on a regular basis. We can no longer adhere to these rules. Look, we are being chased out of this country, whether you want to admit it or not. We could never be chased out of this country. You'll see a lot of people say that. My ancestors were here. The laws say this, and you know what the law said, that the judges are the final decision on things. And a judge told your damn president to bring people back that he sent to Venezuela. Are those people back? No, they're not. They're still losing people in the system. There's a situation in Louisiana. There's people in Venezuela right now. Again, that's why the title of the show is The Enemy Within. Are you the enemy from within? Is someone else the enemy within? Who determines these things? The enemy from within is the people who disagree with anything this doofus says. We have a damn fool running the country at this point, and you don't understand that this dude is out to destroy you. A lot of people think it's not going to happen to me. We have rights. You don't even know your rights, most people. Most people say, I know my rights, but you don't. How many people have heard of proposed bill in Alabama as of April 29th through May 1st in the state of Alabama? Proposed bill HB 618. You know what that bill says? These prisons, I'm going to read a little bit to you. Alabama could send inmates to foreign prisons under proposed bills. Our prisons are too soft. That's what the bill says. Our prisons are too soft. So we don't want to house people in the United States of America. Basically, people who disagree with the rule of law that we're trying to inflict, controlling women's bodies, making Black people subject to anything, being able to kick other people in and out in accordance if you agree or disagree with what's going on in the White House or on Capitol Hill, means we can kick you out of this country. This is directly out of Project 2025, and people don't understand that. You have, well, where are all those people that 8 months ago, you know, it's almost June, so we're going to say 8 months ago, we had a bunch of political pundits on Facebook on a regular basis writing in, see, this is what I don't like, Vice President Harris don't have this, and then it's going to be a jackass that ask me or say, and then in the comment at some point this week, I'm going to respond to him effectively. It says, well, how we know she wouldn't have done this? Because he told you he was going to do this. And of course he didn't read Project 2025 because the dude can barely read. So of course he don't even read daily notes that they give him to be the president that qualifies him as the president of the United States of America. You are under attack, working class individual. You think I'm talking to my people? Yes, I'm talking to my people directly, but your people too. If you get up and go to work every day, like I said a little while ago, if you make less than a $250,000 a year, and if you are under $3 million a year, yes, you too, because you make $3 million a year, you can pack up and leave. If you make $250,000 a year, you're kind of shaky and etchy. I want you to understand what's going on. If you're proposing bills to incarcerate people in Alabama and send them to another country, and everybody in this country has identified, every sensible person in this country has identified that the Black community is under attack by the criminal justice system, that means your cousin, your uncle, your brother, your niece, your nephew, your mother and father could be incarcerated, sent to another country, and lost in the system. And that's not going to happen. Yeah. Guess what? That's illegal. It's illegal to grab people and bring them to another country. You know what also used to be illegal? After 1850, the world, including the United States, made it illegal to traffic people and bring them over. But the Matildas still made it over here, didn't it? When you talk about illegal and legal, what makes things legal and illegal? The people at the top, whoever writing up the laws, whoever drawing up the laws, and whoever enforcing the laws. That's who makes things illegal and legal. So if you're not paying attention and your vote don't count, and they are going to do something, they are not going to let you do anything. They did not let your Black ass become free. You won the war for them because Abraham Lincoln was losing, so he solicited us, and we won the war for him. They didn't let the redlining stop. They didn't let Jim Crow in. They didn't let people, our grandparents and their grandparents open up businesses. They didn't let any of those things happen. We made that happen. Understand, the greatest triumph academically in the history of the world happened here in these United States. For more than 300 years, you are not allowed to read the language. You're not allowed to use mathematics. You are not allowed to learn finance and warfare. And here we are 162 years later, and at some point, somebody from our community has run the country. A bunch of us have been governors. A bunch of us have been reps. Some of us have been senators. A lot of us have been leaders in communities from coast to coast, border to border. And a lot of us have created businesses. If we stay on that train, we don't have to worry about who's in the White House, because guess what? We'll send people to DC. We'll send people to the state capitol to defend us legally. And those laws mean something at that point. And then at that point, you rearrange things, and then you step back and you make sure your community flourishes. You make sure the history of your community continues through your grandchildren, their great-grandchildren. That way you won't repeat the mistakes that were made between 1965 and 2025. And then, and only then, will your grandchildren be left to their own devices and be able to live what is called the American dream. If you keep sitting at the wheel and fall asleep, you will crash, burn, and be right back in the situation your great-grandfather was in. defending your great grandmother. With that being said, I'll see y'all in a couple hours with the Chief Seats, me and my man Mo. If you like this, hit like, hit share, comment, tell a friend to tap in. And I also need you to go to YouTube and subscribe to The End of the Bench. The name of the program, The End of the Bench Media, THAENDOFDABENCH Media. And I see you in a couple hours. Me and Mo will tear it down as usual. Greatest podcast in the history of the world. We're dope. You're not.
I often put it this way. In order for us to be in the state that we're in today as people, we have to be out of our minds. We literally have to be crazy. It is necessary for us to be crazy. It is necessary for us to be backwards. It is necessary for us to be maladjusted. It is necessary for us to be disunited. It is necessary for us to be self-hating. It is necessary for us to be filled with an inferiority complex. In a world where the European is essentially about 10% of the world's population, if that 10% is to continue to rule over the other 90%, it must keep that 90% out of its mind. It must keep that 90% in a state of deception. It must keep that